You're watching GOT and I'm Mark. Guess what? The Motorola Razr Fold has dropped. Yes, it has dropped. In Europe, they have pre-ordering started yesterday, and the pricing is really great with a bunch of extras, and we're going to talk about that. And what's interesting about it is it doesn't look like it should win in sales and the folding category, but I think it's got the best advantage. Let's talk about it. So let's talk about what everybody's saying at first. The Oppo Find N6. Everybody is looking at the specs, and the specs look great. A matter of fact, it's got the 200 megapixel camera lens. It's got big marketing numbers and the Hasselblad tuning, which is telling everybody that this thing is going to be big. Whereas the Motorola Fold, it's got 50 megapixel cameras, no real flashy branding like Hasselblad or Zeiss, and just looks kind of average. This is where the whole thing falls apart because, specs don't tell everything. And I've talked about that and show that in some of my previous videos, and will continue to do so in future videos. So we'll mention some of that here in just a moment. So here's what most people are missing. Megapixel count doesn't always tell the whole story, or does it really mean the better picture? What's more important actually is sensor size. And what I mean by that is the size of the sensor built into the camera, and as far as how much light it'll allow in, how much detail it will allow in. And as far as sensor size goes, the Oppo Find N6 has the smallest 200 megapixel sensor. It's even smaller than Samsung's Z Fold 200 megapixel sensor. Now, where the Z Fold falls apart is all the other cameras, where this one has 50 megapixel on the rest. So that's a great thing. However, when it does come to sensor size, it has some of the smallest in the industry. And that's where the advantage comes to the Motorola. The Motorola has a much bigger sensor on its 50 megapixel or its main sensor, as well as the other 250 megapixels. It has 50 megapixels across the board, which is really good for them when they're breaking into the industry, instead of doing that like they did last year with the 8 megapixel lenses. Motorola is not fooling around. They're coming to play. So with Motorola having the bigger sensors, that's more light. More light means better pictures. And this is where reality really sets in versus specs on paper. And I'm really excited to see how those photos come out on the Motorola. So here's where Motorola's advantages start. Instead of chasing big specs, they're coming out with a balanced system, with the 50 megapixel cameras all the way around, the larger sensors. None of their cameras are weak. And what I mean by that? Well, you've got Pixel with really good processing, but their cameras are weak on this Fold. They have the 50 megapixel lens, but their zoom lens is ridiculous. What is it, a 12 megapixel on here? We're on the Samsung, it's a 10 megapixel. That's ridiculous. So on the Motorola, they don't have a weak set of cameras. Then on top of that, they have the Sony Lithia sensors, as well as the, the Pantone color tuning and strong AI processing. So we'll see how they really come out, because one of the biggest AI processing is in the Pixel. So that's going to be tough to beat. But with the larger sensors and the larger pixel count, shouldn't be too hard. So it may not look great on paper with the best cameras being like the 200 megapixels you find on these, but it has the most consistent camera system in the market, and as well as DXOMARK high ranking them as the #1 foldable in the market. And if you don't know what DXOMARK, they actually rate cameras, not just your phone cameras, but professional cameras. And they've recently, over the last few years, put the phone cameras into their processing and rating system, and they put the Motorola as #1. Now, before you all say anything, there is a catch-all there. They don't have any ratings on the Oppo nor the Honor Magic B5 or B6. They have not rated any of the Chinese models. So the caveat is that rating is on, where I'm located, US phones or more global phones. So according to DxOMark, we know that it actually really does beat these two without a problem. You got Samsung and the Pixel. And to be honest, we look into the future right now, we know that Samsung is pretty much going to come out with the same camera set on the Z Fold 8. I'm hoping they at least upgrade their zoom lens quite a bit, or even their ultra wide maybe to a 50 megapixel. They need to give us something because these 200 megapixel cameras, for me, they're a gimmick. And if you don't believe me, check out some of my other videos and I'll show you. And then same thing here with the Pixel Fold. Not a lot of upgrade on the camera system, but again, we don't have a lot of information on it just yet. So maybe they'll surprise us. Maybe Motorola is really going to put the pressure on these two, since it is a real global phone. So where some of the things that they rate the camera on is they say that the Motorola is going to be, it has balanced exposure, consistent across all lenses, and has no major weakness. Now, why is that? It's probably because of their color tuning. I don't know if you've got a phone where you can take a shot from each of the lens, you can zoom in, and for some reason the color tone changes. And I can tell you just from personal experience that does happen on the Oppo and the Honor Magic. The color tone changes. Even on this one, I have the same issue. Not so much on the Pixel, or even the iPhone is pretty good at it, but iPhone doesn't have a Fold yet. Now that takes us to the next advantage of the Motorola, the market. Motorola has a really big market base already, and even in the foldable industry, they're the flip phones, but in the flip phones, they own 44% of the market. Samsung is around 50, and Pixel here is only at 5%, okay, because of their folds. So the folding market on Motorola is the flip, but the majority of the folds that are sold on Samsung are their flip phones as well. And I think that's mostly based on the expense of these things. These are very expensive compared to a flip phone you can get for about half the cost. And Motorola is very well known for their more inexpensive flips or folds, or whatever you want to call them. These are really good phones, and you can get them at a great price. But on the Fold, their first actual book fold, they're going all in with specs. So we're really expecting this Motorola to be one of their top tier phones. I mean, we know that because they're putting flagship cameras in it. They are actually putting better batteries in it with a 6,000 milliamp hour battery, just like you get in the Oppo. Nowhere near the 4,400, even the 5,000 battery they're going to put in this one. And we know that the Pixel is just barely hovering over 5,000 milliamps. So it's going to be the largest battery of the phones here in the United States. They are putting the Snapdragon 5, where it'll definitely outperform the Pixel here with its G-rated chip in it. Now, it's not going to be the Elite 5 that you're going to find in the new Z Fold or what we have here in the Oppo, but the Oppo again is only 7 cores. It's going to have an 8-core chip in it, and I'm betting it's going to perform somewhere near what we get with the Honor Magic V5, which to date is still the best performing phone that I own, and I own several that have the 8 Elite 5 chip in it. And if you want to know why last year's model chip beats those, you can check out my other videos. So why is Motorola winning in the foldables? It's pretty simple. When the phone's released, it's going to be one of the cheaper ones on the market, at least the more affordable, just like it's coming out in Europe. Right now, in Europe, it's, I believe, $18.99 or $19.99, but they have a bunch of sales and specials coming out on its release. You can get it for $15.99. They're giving them a watch. They're giving them the stylus and I think a case or something else with it. So it's getting quite a bit with it. And last year they sold over 20 million foldables globally, and that grew 10% from the year before. Now the big question is, when is Motorola going to have its North America release or global release everywhere else? Well, apparently in North America, we're looking at sometime the end of May or June, because usually it's just a few weeks after the European release, which we know is going out on May 6th. The pre-orders are now. So it could be quite possible that we get a pre-order towards the end of May and get these phones in June. So another big question is, can Motorola hold the line? Well, Motorola has a real shot. They've got big branding right now, and they've already got a big chunk of the market in the folds. So we're probably going to see a lot of people with these flip phones wanting to upgrade to a foldable. So where would they naturally go? Might as well go to the bargain folding book fold by Motorola. And with that and their competitive prices, and no weak system on the cameras, I think they're going to really take the market. Maybe not by storm, but they're going to definitely flood the market with their phones. Now it's time to hear from you. What do you think? You think they're going to be a global hit once they get these phones in the hands and we start seeing some real reviews on them? Because all the preliminary stuff says it's going to be a great phone. Now, if you want to hear more about the Oppo Find N6 being one of the newest releases today, check out my videos on that. Like this one right here, with where I compare this to the Honor Magic V5. Now, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more content. And if you got something out of the video, make sure you smash that like button down below. It really does help out the channel. My next comparison in the series of the Oppo, and the comparison is going to be these two, Oppo versus the Z Fold 7. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and God bless.